It's a town of Chaplin, a railway station hub in the Dnipro region in southeastern Ukraine. And while the town itself is small, it's a major railway hub. And 25 people, according to the latest figures, were killed in this missile attack. And yesterday, actually, Russia fired missiles on more than 50 Ukrainian towns and villages. This is the information coming from the Ukrainian government sources. And in general, this was a day with a record number of air raid alerts since the start of the invasion. Almost 200 air raid alerts were issued all over Ukraine.
So that is still quite a concentrated attack, but is it the sense that it is different to the initial assault on Ukraine that Russia mounted?
I think it is different in a sense that Ukrainians are better prepared and know what to expect. And also the Ukrainian air defenses are working. There were some explosions also this morning near Kyiv, in the northern suburbs of Kyiv, and some targets were hit there, but there are no casualties according to the information we have at the moment. I think people are prepared in a sense that they know they have to take shelter. Then it's the decision up to them whether they do it or not, but they know that there may be, missiles landing any time, and there is also the very good now system of warning. And in general, I think after everything and all the atrocities that Ukrainians have seen, they are psychologically better prepared to what might be coming, and they just accept living with this risk if they decide to stay in the country.
Yeah. There are nevertheless mounting concerns for the welfare of workers in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. We're hearing terrible stories of what they're having to endure.
Yes, well, last week, the personnel of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in the town of Enerhodar, they published an appeal asking, to prevent a possible nuclear catastrophe there, and speaking about, Russian forces stationing their military equipment there. And today a new video emerged where some residents of Enerhodar, apparently they are employees of the power plant, they have their faces covered and they have their voices changed because of fear of repercussions. They are speaking about this repressions that they are undergoing, that they are basically held as hostages by Russian military there, about the kidnappings of residents of Enerhodar that are just happening randomly on the street by Russian occupying forces. And they, of course, are speaking about the danger to the nuclear power plant, about the shelling, and about, the big number of Russian weapons, artillery systems that are located in the station. And Russia indirectly confirmed that they are holding these weapons actually there, while they previously denied it, by announcing today that they arrested 2 employees of Ukrainian employees of the nuclear power plant, and charging them with passing information about Russian weapons at the station to the Ukrainian armed forces.
Yeah. And, there's ongoing concerns too about the safety of this nuclear station and potentially what Russia may want to use it for down the track.
Yes, well, this Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is the biggest in Europe. So, of course, there are enormous risks associated with, any damage that might happen to the reactor there. Although experts say that this type of nuclear power plant is different from the one in Chernobyl that, where there was a nuclear catastrophe back in 1986. This one is better protected, the reactor of a more modern type. So it won't be as easy to cause a nuclear leak. But if there is a direct hit of a bomb or a missile, then, of course, nothing can be excluded.
One of the issues President Zelensky keeps stressing is the need for ongoing international support. We saw a number of leaders visiting yesterday. Is there the sense that there is still a united effort to keep supporting Ukraine, and that is not going to wane no matter how many months this drags on for?
Well, this news coming from the U.S. about more aid, $3 billion aid package to Ukraine that was announced on Ukraine's Independence Day yesterday, and also the visit of the U.K. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who also announced more aid, and previously the visit of Polish leader Andrzej Duda, who who said the same. This, of course, was received very well in Ukraine. You know, this was seen as a sign of solidarity, as a sign that the world is standing with Ukraine, that it is continuing to support Ukraine and provide weapons for as long as it takes for Ukraine to achieve the victory. I think what is maybe missing or is not as strong as it could and should be is the pressure on Russia in terms of sanctions, in terms of, disconnecting Russia from banking systems and sanctioning Russian banks, sanctioning Russian gas and energy sector. I think this is the area where more could be done, and that would be in the benefit not just of Ukraine, but of, wider Europe and the world.
Yeah. Russia keeps insisting, Olga, that the murder of Daria Dugina was a Ukrainian plot. Now, as someone who really looks at disinformation, what are you seeing about whether the evidence that they are providing stacks up?
Well, Russia provided a very weird set of evidence to support the claim that it was a Ukrainian member of the National Guard to orchestrate this murder and to plant the explosive. So they published a lot of videos from surveillance cameras, but somehow this woman was allowed to leave Russia immediately after, as the Russians alleged, to committing, this murder. Also, the car that she traveled in, some, OSINT researchers, they established that it was bought on the same day in Ukraine, so it was not possible for her to use this car in Moscow on the day when Daria Dugina, was killed. And the identity documents were also obviously photoshopped. There is little trust in Russia, in what Russia says and what kind of evidence it produces. Also because Daria Dugina was a person who wasn't known in Ukraine. She wasn't seen as someone really important, someone worth, investing like resources to kind of fighting with. And to many in Ukraine, her name, they heard it for the first time when this news of her murder actually popped up. And I think Russia is doing that and trying to, blame Ukraine in preparation to a possible trial of Ukrainian prisoners of war in Mariupol. They would say that, she was a Ukrainian nationalist just as them, terrorist and just as them. And also in order to boost support for its war inside Russia, to mobilize Russians, to rally them against Ukraine, and in support of this so-called special military operation as the sanctions start to bite and people in Russia are starting to ask questions about, thousands of soldiers who were killed in Ukraine.
Yeah, and why questioning the futility of this war. Olga, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.